Good morning, AP students. Um, hope everything's going good. Hope this video actually makes it and downloads today. Sorry, well, you guys probably don't care. Probably enjoyed the day off, but sorry that the video didn't upload yesterday very well. Going to show you a few quick things right here. We're going to be talking about how to write a proper thesis today. Um, Day one, we talked about contextualization. The second thing we did was we talked about reading and understanding the documents. And the third thing today that you need to do is understand how to do a thesis. And I'm going in this order because I think this is, if I was going to write an essay, this is how I would do it. You got 45 minutes. So the first thing you need to do is you have to read and understand what the question is asking you, breaking down that question, recognizing the verbs, recognizing the key parts and the elements and the time period. Number two, you have to read and understand those documents. And then finally, once you have read and understood those documents, you need to kind of take a few notes. If when you're reading, I suggest when you're reading, take a few notes about each document. But once you've gotten through all those documents, you basically need to know, okay, what am I going to argue? What are going to be my claims and my arguments? This is going to require you to create your thesis. Now, some of you say, wait a second, I don't want to do that. I would rather do that after I'm done writing. Okay, that's fine. But you need to know what your arguments or your claims are going to be. You may not have a finalized thesis, but you need to know what your argument and your claim points are going to be. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get very many points. All right, and I want to show you the rubric just to kind of help you guys understand why I'm doing it this way. Number one, first day I went over contextualization because that's the opening paragraph. And all you have to do with contextualization is understand the question. The very first thing you're going to do, read and understand the question. Basically, that's all you have to do to get the contextualization point. Give me some historical background into leading up to this question. And some of you struggled with contextualization a little bit, so if you need me to redo it, please send me a private message or send me something saying, hey, Mr. Nichols, would you do another video on that? Or, Mr. Nichols, I'm not getting it. I need some better assistance. I also encourage you guys, there are tons of AP teachers that are on YouTube or out there they're putting stuff out there to help their students, and go find some of those. Find somebody that talks about contextualization. Maybe they're going to teach it, and maybe they're going to say it to where you understand it. And let me know if you found a video that worked for you. The next thing we went over day two, we kind of went over understanding the documents because, hey, you get a point for just telling me the content of the documents. And day three is extremely important because your thesis has to be the driving point of your essay. Your argument, your claims, right here, you have to have a defensible claim. You have to have kind of an argument that responds to the prompt. You only get 2 points if you can't pretty much do this. Because you get a point for contextualization, you get a point for this. Everything else has to do with your argument. Number one, your thesis. It has to be the argument. To get more points on your documents, you have to do what? Support the argument. Supports an argument. To get more points in outside the evidence, what do you have to do? You have to be relevant to the argument. To source the documents, you have to have relevant to an argument. And finally, if you're going to get complexity, the unicorn point, what does it have to be? You have to have a nuance in your argument. It has to have a modification to your argument. So your thesis is the driving point of your essay. If you don't have a thesis, you really are not going to have a passing grade. I hate to break it to you. I've never seen a kid pass a DBQ without the thesis point, and it's because your whole essay derives around that: can they create an argument, and can they use the documents to support that argument? So this is an extremely important point. It's probably going to take the next 2 days. This assignment today will probably take Thursday and Friday to do. So if I don't create a video for Friday, it's no big deal. Let's get right down to it. Find where my document is. There it is. Okay. So you read the question, you read the documents, now you're going to create it, and it should be around the beginning. Your thesis should be your second paragraph. You should have a contextualization paragraph followed by a thesis paragraph. Again, if you don't have it here, put it at the very end. I would say attempt it down here, attempt it at the beginning, and if you get done with your essay and you realize, oh, I got to rewrite it, rewrite it. Don't mark it out up here and try to fix it up here. Just rewrite it down here at the bottom. Okay, so let's get down to doing this thesis. Okay. This is the document. This is the example DBQ that I've been going over on the first 2 videos. Basically, what do you have to do? You have to read and understand the question in order to do this well. So I'm going to read the question. Using the documents provided, evaluate the effects of various strategies implemented by governments that promoted their own state-sponsored visions of industrialization during the period 1750 to 1900. And I highlighted effects because that needs to be the key driving word that you're using right there. Effects. This is kind of the verb of what this whole thing is talking about. It's not talking about what caused something. It's talking about, okay, this happened. As a result, something over here happened. Kind of what happened as a result of industrialization. The other key thing that a lot of people might miss in this is not necessarily the time period, but it's going to be promoted their own state-sponsored visions. You could even include governments in this. And that's key because you're not just talking about industrialization on the whole. You're talking about how each country, each nation used that industrialization to promote their own gains. How they used it to help themselves. And then, of course, you've got the time period. Those, I would say, are like your 3 key points that you really need to understand when you're looking at this question. And then, I'm not going to read all these documents. That would be extremely boring. I've went over document 1. Look back to the previous video. If you want to look through these, you can. But it would be a very long and extremely boring video if I went through here and went over every one of these documents. But you have to understand all the documents in order to understand what you're going to argue. You basically have to look at that document, tell me what it's saying. Look at that document, tell me what it's saying. Look at the next one, tell me what it's saying. Look at this one, tell me what it's saying. And then your thesis has to be, okay, these are what the documents are telling me. Now I'm going to argue these points over here about this essay in relation to the prompt. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 different theses. I've put them, or theses, they're right here. The first thing you need to do when you're writing a thesis, I would say, is restate what the question is. State-sponsored industrialization during this time period. That's my restating. I restated the question. Boom. Next thing you need to do, you have to have a verb that is relating to what your prompt is about. When we go back up here, my big verb here is going to be effects. Okay? Led. It's a 3-letter, small vocab, small little verb, but in it basically says It describes the effects. Something happened that led to this over here. So I restate the question, I have my verb word, and then I now have my 3 argument points. And I want to encourage you guys, don't create just one argument. Try to make it 3 different points. You're not going to get, if you just have one main argument point, you're not going to get the thesis point. I've not seen that. Kids sometimes will only have 2 points. I encourage you to try to get 3 points. Most kids that make the thesis and make a passing grade are typically going to have 3 points. Now, could you do it with 2? You probably could, but I encourage you to try to practice to do 3. It's going to help you in the long run, I believe. So it led to rapidly growing national economies. That is my argument. State-sponsored industrialization led to rapidly growing national economies. There's that word again, national. That's key. That relates back to what the prompt is about. Next one. State-sponsored industrialization led to the construction of large-scale infrastructure projects to unify a nation. There's that word again. What does that mean? That means they're building bridges. They're building trade vessels. They're building factories and mills. They're building railroads. All those things, they're large-scale infrastructure projects, but they're to unify a nation. It's important that you guys, in your argument, you can't just simply state, hey, industrialization led to a growing economy. It led to building more railroads. Industrialization led to more jobs. You're not making a complicated argument. You need to make it a little bit more complicated than that. It led to growing national economies. And what kind of growth? Rapid growth. It wasn't simple. It wasn't long term. It was rapid growth. It didn't just lead to construction of railroads, construction of infrastructure projects, which is more than just railroads. So that infrastructure could include lots of things. And they didn't just construct them, but they used that to unify their country. Make your argument nuanced. Make it complicated. And then finally, my third point, the state-sponsored industrialization led to thousands of new jobs for workers of that country. I related it back to the prompt, and that's what you guys got to do. I gave you another example right here if you want to look at it. Again, this time I didn't use the word led. I used the word in the prompt itself, except I did it in 2 ways. The effects included this, this, and this. So there's 2 different versions of a thesis you guys can take a look at. What you need to do is take practice document right here. Number 1, you have 5 different documents, then a thesis. Then you got number 2, 5 different documents and a thesis. Then you got 3, 5 different documents and a thesis. And what I'd like for you guys to do is take one of these practice DBQs, read all 5 documents, and I want a small description of document 1. So you'll read it. Yesterday I showed, or Tuesday, we went over how to write a summary of the documents. So that's kind of what I want. I want you to read this document, give me a small summary of it. Document 2, give me a small summary of it. Document 3, give me a small summary of it. Document 4, give me a small summary. Document 5, give me a small summary. Next, write your thesis. And that's what I would like for you guys to do. And again, I may do this again tomorrow. So whatever document you don't choose today, we may do this twice. Hope this helps, and I hope you guys stay safe.